I mean, I always judge things on heart. You know, I think that the movie has a good heart, and that's when you're working on a story, you're just trying to make it work. And I think with the film, they were just trying to make it work for what they were doing. So I wasn't precious on my story. I just wanted them to have a vision for it and shoot it in Reno. And I apologize, and they apologize for making Virginia City Elko. But I guess they went to Elko and they said it looks exactly like Reno, kind of. And so they had to do somewhere close that they could afford that had something different, like mountains and wood sidewalks. And so that's why they did that.
Willie, do you miss Reno?
I always, with the Motel Life and Northline, my second book, were homesick books. I moved from Portland to Portland because I used to go to this bar called the Zephyr, and there was all these Portland bands coming through, and I was a failure as a musician here, and it's a lonely world to be a failed writer in a town where none of your friends read or think it's cool. My mother was not a fan of that aspect of me, and I think it's best to be a failure at those things in a different city. I always liked Reno, and I always liked writing stories about it. It's a really cool place.
But I don't think you would have written it had you not moved away and wanted to come back.
I did. There was a bar called the Last Dollar Saloon across from Louis Bass Corner.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have the marquee in my house. I used to write stories about that place all the time when I lived there. I fell in love with Reno because of Gail Marie Palmer, the writing teacher. I always liked writing stories about Reno, and she kind of encouraged that and said I wasn't insane for doing it. So I owe everything to her, and if any of you want to take writing classes, you should take it from her, because she makes you feel like being a writer or loving literature is a good thing, and you're not a freak or an idiot. You're actually really special and amazing, and for a guy that didn't know anybody else that wrote, being around someone like that kind of encourages you, it's a godsend, and so she always goes down for me is a saint.
I was just wondering, how much of yourself ends up in your characters when you're writing? How much are you reflected in Jerry Lee and Frank? How much are you reflected in those characters?
Well, I wrote the Motel Life for me. I wrote 5 novels and never showed them to anybody, because I liked writing them, and I liked the comfort of having those kind of friends around me. And I didn't want to realize that I was bad at it. And you never try hard at things or everybody tells you you're bad at it. So I lived in, just kind of ignorance about it, bliss about it. It was great. I wrote about the Flanagan brothers because they were just sliding through life, and they were drunk all the time, and they were not standing up and trying to attempt anything. They were just taking it as it comes, and I lived like that, where I was scared to make big decisions, and so a lot of that stuff is true. I love drinking in dive bars in Reno, and one of the reasons I'm here is because I moved away from that, but I like all that stuff. Obviously I didn't live as hard as those guys, but in my heart I felt like those guys, and the book's really just about everyone in the book, the main characters, from the dog to even old Earl Hurley and the brothers and Annie. They're just lost. Everybody's just kind of out there in the wind by themselves, and that's a hard way to live.
What made you want to write about the love between brothers?
The brothers was a daydream. I mean, wouldn't it be nice to go through life and you're always got a pal? I never looked at them as like one had to take care of the other in my head. I just thought, man, that would be a nice way to live. And so that's just kind of what I wanted from it. And like I said, I wrote a lot of that just for me, for fun. And like all the crazy scenes are just me having fun. It's a really good ride. It's a really cheap way to get to do all those crazy things and be a fighter pilot. It doesn't cost you anything. Find some Icelandic girl that's rich, likes you, makes good apple pie. Hell, That's pretty good.